Before the mermaid was a pretty siren painted on sailors' maps, she was something much older, darker, and far more unsettling. The sea has always been a graveyard for men, and across the world, cultures gave shape to that devouring abyss by imagining women of the water who promised beauty but carried death. In Mesopotamia, the first stories spoke not of mermaids but of gods who fused human flesh with the scales of fish. The goddess Atargatis, stricken with shame after causing the death of her mortal lover, threw herself into the sea. The waters tried to transform her completely, but her beauty was too strong to be hidden, and only her lower half became a fish. From that moment she became the mother of mermaid legends, not a gentle guardian but a figure of grief, a divine being bound to the waters by guilt. The Greeks and Romans twisted the tale further. For them, the ocean was a place of madness, and so the sirens were born. They were not half women, half birds at first, but voices made flesh, perched on jagged rocks, singing songs that drove men to steer their ships into destruction. Over time, the bird feathers fell away and scales replaced them, the sirens becoming the familiar half-fish seductresses. These were not companions or lovers of sailors, but their doom. To hear their song was to walk willingly into the sea's open mouth. The Norse called them the Hafru, sea women who rose from black waters when storms swelled. They were said to comb their long, pale hair and gaze upon ships with hollow eyes. Some believed they could bless a voyage, but more often they dragged men down into the freezing depths. Sailors swore they had seen them in the northern seas, their bodies lit with eerie green light like drowned corpses preserved in ice. The line between mermaid and drowned woman blurred, as if the sea itself was recycling the souls it had taken, sending them back to lure the next crew into its embrace. In Africa, the Mami water spirits took shape, figures both feared and worshipped. They were said to rise from rivers and oceans, sometimes appearing as beautiful women with shimmering skin, sometimes as monstrous hybrids with serpent coils. They offered wealth and power to those who pleased them, but demanded total devotion. A man who looked upon Mamiwata might vanish beneath the surface, returning days later empty-eyed, his soul tethered forever to the waters. In Asia, similar tales surfaced. In Japan, the ninjo was a creature with a monkey's mouth and a fish's body, its flesh granting eternal life but cursed with calamity. To catch one was to doom your village, for storms and plagues followed the corpse of a mer creature. Yet stories tell of fishermen who ate a fragment of ninjo flesh and lived unnaturally long, cursed by immortality they could never escape. Every shore tells the same story in different words. Mermaids are not companions of men, they are the ocean's teeth disguised as a kiss. They are the embodiment of the deep's hunger, the feminine given monstrous form to explain why ships vanish, why sailors drown, why the sea never stops swallowing the living. Even in modern times, stories linger of pale figures seen in the water just before storms break, or voices heard singing across the waves where no human should be. The origins of mermaids are not rooted in beauty but in fear. They are death dressed in silk hair and saltwater eyes. They are the ocean's way of reminding humanity that no matter how far we sail, the sea owns us, and it will always call us back into its depths. Mermaids have always lived in the shadows between fascination and terror, never truly belonging to the world of humans, nor entirely to the abyss. To speak of them is to speak of water itself, a mirror that seduces and a grave that consumes. They are not a single myth, but 1,000 different whispers carried across the tides, each culture dressing the sea's hunger in a new face, but always feminine, always haunting. In medieval Europe, mermaids were painted on church walls and carved into manuscripts as warnings, not wonders. They were symbols of lust and sin, their comb and mirror icons of vanity that lured men into ruin. Sailors returning from long voyages would swear they had seen women with pale faces and hair like strands of kelp, singing just above the waves. But those who claimed to reach them often never returned, and the ones who did were left half mad, swearing that the touch of a mermaid was both bliss and suffocation, like drowning in beauty itself. Some legends insist they could take mortal husbands. Tales from Scotland speak of Selkies, seal women who could shed their skins and live as wives among men, but only until their hidden pelt was found. The moment a Selkie retrieved her skin, she would abandon her human family and vanish back into the sea without a backward glance, as though her time on land was nothing but a borrowed dream. In those stories, the human heart was never enough to hold her soul belonged to the waves. Other myths painted them as omens of disaster. Irish fishermen believed in the marrow, green-haired women of the deep whose appearance foretold storms or shipwrecks. Their beauty was laced with horror, for though they wore the face of a woman, their bodies were sometimes described as scaled, webbed, or monstrous. To see one was to know the sea had already chosen its next victim. In Russia and Slavic lands, the Rusalki haunted rivers and lakes rather than oceans. They were said to be the spirits of women who died violently, often betrayed by lovers. They appeared as beautiful maidens, laughing by the banks and beckoning young men close. But once the victim was near, the Rusalki dragged him under, entangling him in her hair until he drowned. These water maidens were not born of gods or curses, but of tragedy, carrying the bitterness of their deaths into eternity. Even explorers carried the myth forward. Christopher Columbus himself recorded seeing mermaids on his voyage, though what he described was closer to manatees distorted by distance, sun, and imagination. Still, the power of the legend was so strong that even seasoned navigators saw what they expected, not beasts, but women. The myth was stronger than reality, and that is the true nature of mermaids. They are not merely creatures, but reflections. The sea is too vast, too unknowable, so humanity gave it a face, one that could be both beautiful and cruel.